Hi, it's Ben Welsh here at the LA Times again. We're going to pick up right where we left off in the last video, where we calculated some big totals using the donor list of people who've given money to Prop 64. Now again, you need to be in your virtual environment and have your notebook up and running. And down at the bottom, we'd filtered down to some lists of donors who support and oppose Proposition 64, the marijuana ballot measure, on the November 2016 ballot, having drawn that from a merged table we created in some earlier steps. And in this lesson, I'm going to show you another simple but very powerful Pandas technique for data analysis, and that's sorting. Now, sorting might not sound too exciting, but it's very important in data journalism because we often want to know who's at the top, who's at the bottom, and nobody ever complained about reading a nice, interesting list or ranking in their newspaper or favorite magazine. And so it's something that we frequently do, and it's very simple to do in Pandas. You just have to learn your way around a new method which is called sort values, sort_values. And I'll show you how to use it here real quick. Now the question that we're looking to answer, I think, here, as we try to interrogate our data, and I'm always thinking to myself, what's the question I want to answer when I'm messing around with my data in this analysis portion? The question I think we can answer using the sorting tool is what were the largest contributions, the largest individual checks that were written to both the support and oppose side of the ledger. We will get to who were the largest contributors later because, remember, people can write more than one check. But a step on the road to that is just what were the largest individual contributions that were given. And we can start with our merged variable, which again is the data set that includes both support and oppose money. We're going to do merged and then dot to get access to the many powerful methods that are available on our data frame. And then sort_values is the name of this method, right? So merged dot sort_values, and then we have to do an open parenthesis and a close parenthesis because again this is a method, right? And this method requires an input. The input that sort values wants is the column or columns that you would like to sort the data by. In this case, the column we're interested in sorting by is the amount column that we've used before. We want to have that table be reordered using the amount column to decide what comes first and what comes last. And so to do that, you have to again do a double quotes or single quotes to pass in a string or a list of characters to the function. And we're simply going to type the name of the column we'd like to sort by, which in this case is amount. So merged dot sort values, open parenthesis, quote, amount, close quote, close parenthesis. That should resort our table using the amount column. So I'm simply going to push the play button, and there it comes. So I'll have to scroll around here to make it visible. And again, I've sort of pumped things up so it's a little cramped. But if we scroll over to the far right-hand side, we can see that these are prop contributions for 64. Here's the committees that they went to. Looks like these first ones in our ranking are from the support side, a committee called Californians for Sensible Reform. And then we can see that here's the name of the donors. Weedmaps is a very popular website for finding where to buy marijuana. And that donation was based in Irvine, California. And if we go to the far side, we'll finally get to the amount. And oh, look, there's something unexpected. The top value, the top row in our ranking is a negative value. And then if we were to scroll down here, we see that those numbers then start to approach 0 and then begin to go up, starting with very low numbers. And the reason for this is that the default sort done by sort values is in what's called ascending order. It goes from the smallest to the largest, as opposed to from the largest to the smallest, which is what we wanted to do in this case. Pandas had to pick 1 as the default, and they picked ascending. And so if we want to make it sort in descending order instead, we have to change that line of code that we just wrote. And that means going back up here, and I'm going to edit this line. So after amount, I'm going to hit comma and then space. And just like we did with merge, we're going to need to pass in a keyword argument that tells Pandas an option that we want to switch inside sort values. And because I've done this before and looked it up, I know that the keyword option to switch the order is the word ascending, which is a little long for my tastes, but that's how they've decided to design this method. And we want to type the word ascending, and then equal, and then with a capital F, the word false. And so when you type false with a capital F or true with a capital T in Python, you're creating what are called Boolean objects, or sort of the sort of platonic ideal of true or false that can be tested against each other, and they represent sort of trueness or falseness within your Python code. And so in this case, we want to tell this option, ascending, that we want you to be false. And again, the only reason I know this odd option is necessary is because I've done it before and looked it up. And this is one of the sort of verbose and slightly odd things in pandas that's not my favorite thing, but it's how pandas works, and maybe over time it will gradually be condensed so you don't have to write as much. But every time you want to sort in descending order, you need to do it this way, which is merged.sort_values, parenthesis, the name of the field in quotes, comma, ascending equals capital F false, and then a close parenthesis. So now if I rerun my code that I ran before, we can now see, the largest contribution is now, let's count the zeros, is that $4 million? And there's a $2 million contribution, another one that's close. Gee, who gave these large contributions? Let's look. It looks like the largest one is from Palo Alto, California, and a gentleman named Sean Parker, who you may remember if you've seen the movie The Social Network. He is the founder of Napster and an early investor in Facebook. I believe Justin Timberlake plays him in the movie. And if we keep scrolling, we can see that he gave to a supporting committee. So we know that the largest check given overall within the entire race was a $4 million check written by Sean Parker, and that was recorded as received on September 15th, 2016 by this committee. And that's something you could report, I think, based off the findings pretty much right away. Now, let's say we want to know who gave the most both for and against, because I didn't see any opposition donations there at the top. So to do that, we can remember that up above we had already made two separate data frames, one called support and one called oppose, and they are filtered down from the merge table to include only the support and opposition candidates. And so if I wanted to see the largest contributions on the opposition side, since I feel like I've seen the ones on the support side there, I can do simply oppose dot sort underscore values parenthesis quote amount. So it's all the same so far, except I'm changing the variable at the front to oppose, comma, ascending equals false. Then hit play, and now here comes our top opposition donations, which we can see went to a committee named Sam Action, and from a person whose name I may mispronounce, Julie Schauer, or Scher, of Oaks, Pennsylvania, who lists herself as retired, gave, it looks like, $1 million to oppose this proposition. Now, you may have noticed that Pandas here is printing out the whole table, and it might be nice to kind of slice this off to only say the top 5, like we're doing a ranking, right? Well, one nice thing we can do is, just like anything else in Pandas, we can chain on the end there another method after sort. And one thing I like to do is to use my friend head, which we've used many times before, to limit the results. Hit play again, and now we only get the top 5. Say I wanted the top 10. Remember we had input to head that lets us limit the length. We can hit 10, and then there we go. We have now the top 10 opposing contributions. Well, congratulations. You've learned how to sort. That's the end of this video, and it's something that's very simple but very powerful, and I suspect you'll use a lot.